I'm Oliver Trevena. Welcome to Superhuman at Labs, presented by Bulletproof. An amazing evening ahead. Some amazing guests. I'm not superhuman. I'm human. I think I've established that. I'm still working on it. But these people are, so stick around. For anyone that doesn't know where we are, Bulletproof Labs is the world's first facility that merges technologic intelligence with authentic human connection to upgrade your brain, body, and life in less time. GloZell Green, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Amanda McVey, and Ed Mylett. Can you guys give a bit of an intro for anyone here? We have got a live audience here. There's like 2,000 people. Yes! Yeah. Brad Pitt, thank you for coming. Glad you could make it. Thanks, Brad. It's a good one. Guys, give a quick intro.
Okay, I know you have a paper on me, so why don't you just hand it to me?
Do you want to read about
I'm
yourself?
going to read what...
You're superhuman.
I am superhuman. That's how I know that you had a paper.
Okay.
Okay. GloZell is a classically trained performer and internet personality, has dedicated herself to making people laugh. You should have heard the jokes before. I'm a comedian that established my YouTube channel in 2008. I have over 4.5 million followers on YouTube and over 8 million throughout my whole social media following. My current show, Glowlistic, yes, that's my producer back there from Awestruck, has made me a superhuman inspiration following my journey through self-discovery through mind, body, and spirit. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, GloZell.
That's what I like that.
And her name is GloZell. She wins the name award.
Thank you.
Anyone
Thank you.
can beat that? Anyone got a better name than that? Nothing. Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Dr. Joe.
So I've written a few books on the neuroscience and the biology of personal change and transformation. My passion and my interest is to teach people that they have within their reach all the tools to make the necessary changes in their life and transform their life and spread the message so that more and more people become empowered. That's what I do.
I'm Amanda McVey, and I'm the general manager of Bulletproof Labs, also one of the people who built Bulletproof Labs, so I'm so thankful that everybody could be here tonight. Besides that, also one of the co-creators of the Superhuman at Labs panel that we're on tonight.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. I'm Ed Mylett. I love people, and I love helping people. And I spent the first, I'm 47 in a couple hours, so I spent the first plus tax, a lot of tax, brother, a lot of tax, high miles too. But I spent the first 45 years of my life kind of building myself. I built a pretty significant company and a significant net worth, and I kind of decided about a year or two ago that I wanted to spend the next 45 years of my life paying that forward and helping people transform their lives and becoming the best version of themselves. And so I was a private person before that. I've spoken in front of about 5 million people in my life on stage. I kind of just did that and left, and now I've started to work. So I've worked with some of the business people, athletes, entertainers that you would know. I coach and mentor them, and I've started to do that now sort of with the world. So I started an Instagram and social media and several million people, a podcast that gets 5-6 million downloads now in the last year, and so it sort of exploded. And so I just really enjoy the process of engaging with people and helping them change their lives. And so I'm excited to be here to do that tonight.
Love that.
Yeah.
Self-made multi-millionaire, right?
Yeah. I've built a 9-figure net worth. Yeah. So. And by the way, I should say to some people that follow me, I'm a chairman of a company. I'm the most agency chairman of a company called World Financial Group too, that I'm real proud of as well. And that's the most important thing I've done in business. So I should say that as well for my friends watching that. Yeah.
So you think Ellen DeGeneres does it here at Superhuman Labs? If you look under your seats, you've all got a voucher for a free tour.
There you go. There you go. For my birthday. Yeah, for my birthday.
If you hit up Ed on Instagram, he'd give you a Porsche too.
What's under my seat for my birthday? A cup of wine.
You
got a cup of wine. Thank you.
Today we're talking about what it takes to become superhuman, or what it means to be superhuman. Give us your opinion, your view on that.
What it takes to be a superhuman, or what it means. I have 2 examples, possibly 3.
I'm guessing I'm not one of them.
You are. Growing up, I remember watching this little show, and there's a bunch of kids, and then all of a sudden, one kid, takes off. And they're like, Clark, did you know you could do that? And it turns out he was Superman. So I'm like, you didn't know that you were a superhero? We all are superheroes, right?
Yeah.
You got to know it. That's the number one thing, I think. And also, another example, because I'm a musical theater type of person, Dorothy. All right, Dorothy's going down the yellow brick road, and she was told, you need to do this, this, and this, and this to get where you want to go. And when she gets there, guess what? Hey, you had it in you the whole time. You didn't have to go here and go here, go there. You just had to know and believe in yourself. So that's what I think means being a superhero, superhuman.
I have a feeling we're going to get a different answer from Dr. Joe.
Oh, of course, of course.
My passion and my interest is to push people outside of their emotional belief, to help them to step outside of their known familiar neural circuitry, their neurohormones, their familiar emotional states, and place them in a position where they have to rely on some greater resource. And I think there is a field of information called the quantum field that we're all connected to. In fact, we are the extension of it. And if you were to peel everything material down to its basic levels on a subatomic level, there's nothing material in an atom. It's basically energy and information. So my interest and my passion is to have people to connect to that field and then put them in situations where they have to access that field of energy to begin to influence the material world. And I believe in human potential. And I think that when people get beyond the struggle of trying to change themselves as themselves, and they finally surrender to something greater, I think that they do the uncommon and they do the supernatural. And I don't think you have to be a yogi or a Buddhist or a monk or any particular sect to do it. I think that we all have the innate capacity to do it. And so when people begin to heal one another or heal themselves of different health conditions, when they have mystical experiences that transcend their understanding of reality, when they heal from scars and wounds from the past, and when they create better lives for themselves, I think that's the beginning stages of what it is to be superhuman or supernatural. And I don't think that anybody is so special to be excluded from that phenomenon.
Excellent.
Nice.
I think I land somewhere between the two of you. I completely agree in what you're saying with the Dorothy piece. I think that if being human is simply walking around in this vessel every day as a given, I think that being superhuman means that you on some level understand that you are already perfect and you have everything within your capacity that you need to be an absolutely fully expressed human being. There might just be things that are sitting on top of you in terms of, in bulletproof language, we would say inflammation, we might say limiting beliefs. And once all of that can be removed, the superhuman can be fully expressed. So it's completely within our potential to always be superhuman. We just accidentally sometimes walk around as average humans.
That's awesome, by the way. All three answers are awesome. Humans are super because you're a miracle. So the fact that you're here, the fact that you exist, all of us were born to do something special and great with our lives. That's why we arrived here as a miracle. Your very existence is a miracle. We know this when we're babies, we know this when we're children. Somehow along the way in our lives, we begin to get further and further away, we forget that. When you're a child, you have these big dreams, these big visions for your life. You were going to be an athlete or an entertainer or an astronaut or president of the United States, and then life starts happening to you. Messages start conversing on you, and you begin to settle, and you begin to believe you're not a superhuman. So human beings' potential, the struggle human beings have is not understanding the infinite capacity that they have. And so if any of you are parents, you have these infinite capacities. If you're a parent, if you look at how you love your child, it's limitless. There's literally nothing your child could do that could violate the fact that you love them. It's limitless, right? They could murder someone, you'd probably help them hide the body when it's your own child, right? And so your capacity as a human is limitless, and we forget this. And so one of the things that I always tell people is that I think at the end of my life, I'm gonna meet the man I was born to be. I think I'm going to get introduced to the person I could have been. And I think my journey in my life is when I meet that person, I think the Lord, the universe, God, whatever you believe is going to say, here's the guy you could have been. Here's the woman you could have been. Here's the places you could have seen, the difference you could have made, the contribution, the experience, the feelings, the level you could have achieved. And to be a superhuman by definition means this, that when your life is over, you meet that person and you're identical twins. A life that is not superhuman is at the end of your life, you meet that person, you're total strangers. And I want to meet that man someday. And I want to meet him and shake his hand and say, I've been chasing you my whole life, brother. We're identical twins. I saw the places you said I was supposed to see. I did the things I was capable of doing. I helped the people I was capable of helping. And I'm proud of me. And that's what I do every day. Every day is a chase to be that person. Not a chase like a battle, a chase like a journey, like an experience. And so that's what I think it means to be superhuman, is to know you were born to do something great and to chase that person and do those great things. So.
Very impressive. And I've got questions here, but I'm intrigued myself.
Yeah.
Listening to you all, like the energy and the confidence I guess you have, and obviously you each have your own ways of doing it. How do you do that when you face tough times and stuff like that? Like you can't always be that way. Surely. You don't always wake up with this confidence and you want to do this every day and all that.
Yeah.
Starting with you, how do you, because you have your energy as well. The minute I walked in, you're like, what up? That can't be 24/7. So those moments when it's tough, what do you do to pull yourself out of it?
I am a pretty healthy, happy person. I'm not, no. Everyone has those times. Now, when those times come around, I have my, first of all, when I wake up, it's all, okay, today's gonna be a great day. You just start it that way, and then you see what happens. It usually goes the way you already set. So you set your intentions, and let's go that way, and that's something that's learned. Now, there's always somebody that you're like, you know what, person get on my nerves, whatever. However, you just go to whether that's that song or that thought, or you just tell yourself it's okay. So you have to pat yourself on the back and keep yourself going and not get caught up in anything negative, because it can send you down. So just like that, you can always go up. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay.
It does make sense. It's tough to do. You mentioned intention, the word intention.
Yes.
I'm sure you can elaborate on that. Intentions, I've read some of your
For
stuff.
me, on a personal level, I'm interested in taking knowledge, information, and integrating it into my brain circuitry to have a greater understanding of the way reality really is. I really don't think that we spend a lot of time really questioning the nature of reality. But if you combine the latest research in neuroscience with neuroendocrinology or psychoneuroimmunology, which is the mind-body connection, epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibility. And so when you begin to embody those principles and you take time out of your life to say, okay, before I start my day, what is the greatest expression? What is the greatest ideal of myself that I can be today? And if people really imagine the world, everybody doing this at the same time, everybody before they start their typical routine, really beginning to take that on and not getting up until they're in that state of being. I think that people would be more kind. I think they would be more present. I think they would be more loving. I think they would be more willful. I think they would be more conscious. I think they would be more giving, because that's what we really want to be when we're not seduced by so many conditions in our outer world that cause us to believe that we're separate from everyone and everything, or that we're limited. And for me personally, I take time out of my life to do that, and I learn and I study and I question the nature of reality, and I question my own limitations, and I challenge myself every single day to embody that ideal. And I think that this is a great time in history right now, because information is so readily available. You don't need a doctor, you don't need a teacher, you don't need a priest or a rabbi, you don't need a governor, you don't need an authority to gain information any longer. And because information is so readily available, I think that in an age of information, ignorance is a choice. So people are waking up to information, and when they wake up to information, it changes their level of awareness. And when you change awareness, you change consciousness. And I think that this is an amazing time in history where people are beginning to really question the old paradigms and the old beliefs. And because information is available, those paradigms are beginning to break down, whether it's religious, whether it's educational, whether it's economic or political or journalism or the environment or the medical model. A lot of those systems that were once stable are beginning to break down because something greater has to happen that serves a greater consciousness and a greater community. And so I think people are waking up in the world right now, and I think we are breaking that 4-minute mile, that we're breaking that veneer, that limitation, where we have to settle for mediocrity. And information is the catalyst that does that, but it's not enough to just learn it. I think that we have to apply it. I think that we have to demonstrate it and personalize it. And I think when we do, and we do it effectively, I think we give people a permission to do the same. And just like an infection spreads amongst a community and creates disease, I believe that health and wellness and abundance is as infectious as disease. And when you gather a community of people together that share that same belief, it's kind of like when you watch a group of fish that all turn in the same direction, or a flock of birds that all move as one mind. I think that's how we change the world. I think there's a new community that's suspended above skin color, above culture, above class, above education, above all of those things that create separation. And I think that's how we change the world.
There you go. Agreed. Let's do it. Amanda?
Something that's helped me live pretty close to bliss, especially more recently, is actually taking action on my gut instinct. So throughout my life, I've been completely okay with making massive changes in terms of moving cities or changing jobs, when I've had that sense inside of me that there was something bigger, more important, more impactful that I was supposed to do for the world. And when I feel those moments, they feel like ledges in my life. I always jump off of them because it always moves me closer toward the person that I'm supposed to be versus people who perhaps might move cities or change jobs to get away from the person that they are. So that's been something that I think has been really impactful in my life, that as soon as I feel it, it's something I talk about a lot. I really trust my gut, but I don't just listen to the voice. I take action on what I feel compelled to do, and it's really wrapped around me this brilliant life of miracles that just progressively keep getting more and more powerful, and people that keep getting more and more impactful as well. Besides that, because that can sometimes be scary, right? There's a pretty big element of risk in that, which might be less palatable to some folks. Something that Dave Asprey actually brought into my life was a 5-minute journal. And I swear this thing has changed my life. Every morning, waking up and just taking those, completely changed my morning routine to be a different person than I was in the past. In the past, the person that I was would get out of bed, grab my phone, look what was going on it, make my coffee, and I had become somewhat of a robot, even though I might have seemed like a productive robot, not necessarily being the human that I hope to be, the superhuman that I hope to be in the future. And so what was amazing about this 5-minute journal is that I made the decision that I wasn't allowed to touch technology. I wasn't allowed to be that same old person with the exception of the coffee. But instead I sit down with my coffee, no technology, and quietly go through the things that I'm most grateful for in the mornings. Those 3 quick thoughts. And then what would make today great. I'm deciding before the day begins the things that are gonna make it super excellent, and then also setting my my affirmation for the day. And I get to come up with whatever the hell I want, which I love in that process. And even better, at the end of the day, you come back to it. And there's a section that says, like, what 3 amazing things that happened. And the powerful thing that happened in my day is I started looking for things. So because I knew I had to write about them at night, I was like, that was amazing, and now I'm filling all the sides of my book with all the amazing things because I made an intention to find them. And then the last question that it asks you is, how could I have made today better? And every day I circle, how could I have made today better? And there'll be moments when I find myself not being the person that I hope to be. And in those moments, I'm like, oh shit, am I gonna have to write about this later? the thing that I could have done better. So it helps me choose a different day for tomorrow. In the moment, it helps me try and take a step back and be better. But that has helped me live a more joyful life.
So you asked whether or not we're always self-confident.
I mean, how you do it?
No, so I think, so in my case, I think if you meet somebody who appears outwardly to be pretty self-confident, it means they've done a lot of work on themselves. Typically somebody, I can just speak from experience. For me, it's because I came from a place where I was out of necessity. I was so insecure, so screwed up. I come from, like most people, almost all families, dysfunctional family. So there's like drug addiction, alcoholism, just stuff in my family, right? So I grew up kind of small too. So I had all this like convergence. I'm shy, just convergence of circumstances that made me a not very confident person. And so I had to learn to be resourceful to change myself into becoming a confident person. And so there's a couple things I did to do that. And so no, I'm not always that way. This other dude is still there sometimes. Right? Like I know he's there and I got to make sure he stays away from me. Right? And so for me, building self-confidence, people always want to be more self-confident. Like all the athletes I coach, when they go into a slump, it's not because they don't know how to swing the bat anymore or shoot a free throw or hit a golf ball. It's because they've lost confidence. It's not their physical, it's their mental game. So self-confidence is really simple. The way you build self-confidence, and no one teaches this, it's silly. It's an inward game. Self-confidence is built by keeping the promises you make to yourself, period. It's self-trust. And so when you meet somebody who's outwardly not a very confident person, really it's indicative that they've not consistently kept promises they make to themselves. Because you are unconcerned with your reputation with other people. Okay, so the symptom is you're really worried about what everybody thinks about you, so you're insecure. That's the symptom. The disease is internally, you don't feel good about yourself. So you're seeking this from other people. You'll stop seeking other people's approval once you have your own approval. And this is built through self-confidence. It's very easy to do, believe it or not. And it's beginning to keep the promises you make yourself and being conscious of the fact that you're doing it and giving yourself credit. When you get up in the morning, the routine you go through, what you put in your mouth, you can stack the deck in your favor. I did this, I did this, I did this. And when you begin to build a pattern with yourself and you stack that over time, it's like a table. It begins to build legs, then it becomes a belief that's immovable, and now you've built self-confidence. So that's my first process. The second process is the most powerful thing in the world is to be consistent with the ideas, concepts, and beliefs you hold about yourself. You can call it identity, but it's more than that. Identity is a low-level term. And so you are going to be congruent with what you feel you're worth, period. You're not going to exceed in your life the external results that you feel that you don't believe you're worthy of internally. It's not to get all hokey-pokey with you, but that feeling, there's a thermostat on the wall over there, okay? It's 75 degrees, let's say it's set at. Those are those sets of belief in your life about your financial well-being, spirituality, happiness, sexiness, confidence. People think it's outward things, but that thermostat sets the temperature for this room. So if we open these doors and cold air came in here, that thermostat will kick on and keep this room 75 degrees. Okay? If it gets really hot and we blow hot air in here, the outward conditions, that thermostat will kick on and cool the room back to 75 degrees. That's how your life is. And so what happens is, if you're a 75 degreer in your life of happiness or abundance or wealth or achievement, no matter what begins to happen in your life, if cold air begins to come in and it goes really bad, you'll find a way to turn the heater on and get your life back to where it was. The problem is the reverse is also true. You begin to learn all these tactics and strategies or find a good business or a good mate or a good relationship. But if your happiness level begins to exceed what you believe you're worth, you will turn the air conditioner on and cool your life right back down. It's unconscious. All of a sudden you're like, wow, my car broke down. I got this bill to pay. It seems like it's out of your control, but it's not out of your control. What happened was your external results exceeded your internal identity. So the key in life is to change the ideas, concepts, and thoughts that you hold about yourself, your worth, your belief, so that you begin to manifest the outside results with that internal thermostat. So I'm obsessed with only two things. Everything else is bullshit, okay? I'm obsessed with two things. A, keeping the promises I make to myself and stacking my self-confidence and doing every single thing I can to turn that thermostat from 75 to 90 to 100 to 150. How do you do that? Complicated, listen to my podcast, but the two big ways are beginning to change, like Doc and I were talking about in our interview. consciously taking a hold of the mind-body experience and those thoughts you have, also through the power of association. You cannot, if I'm a 75 degreer of spirituality and I hang around someone who's 150 degreer all the time, by connection, they will heat me up somewhere in between me and them. So it's the power of your associations. The second way is to do unbelievable amount of activity in a short period of time that you've never done before. It'll shift your watermark of what you think you're worthy of forever. There's a whole bunch of strategies like that. So to answer your question, I am a pretty confident person. But not overly confident, because I'm a human being. You're a human being. My capacity is no greater than yours, but I was wired with special gifts that are mine, and so were you. Mine aren't better than yours, they're just different. A happy life is finding out and uncovering what your gifts are and spending your life using those gifts to better other people's lives. You use humor, and your beauty, and your ability to communicate, and your warmth. You do. You use this incredible, no, you do. You use this incredible capacity to want to serve people, this heart to give to people, this amazing brain that you were given as well, and your ability to communicate it. In your case, it's this ability, I'm watching you now, it's this ability to have these, because I'm really consistent with the things that you're saying, by the way. It's your ability to say it in a way, but the strategies are unbelievable, and you say it in such a way where I'm like you. In other words, you're not better than me, you don't repel me when you teach. I feel like you're bringing me with you, and you just look at your face. You have this warm, beautiful, giving, kind, generous, nurturing face, and so people are magnetized to you. And so those are unique gifts all of us are wired with, and I have a couple of my own, and you have yours, and everybody else in here has theirs. Once you uncover what they are, life's awesome. You're superhuman. So.
I'm also obsessed with two things right now. It's your right arm and your left arm.
Oh,
I've never seen it. I'm trying to focus on what he's saying. Unbelievable. We don't have those in England.
Smaller and smaller shirts, man.
You can't buy those in the UK. Dr. Joe, your healing work, because reading a lot about you recently, it's the healing work, you've done thousands of people all over the world. The results, and how is that? How does that work? Like, how do you go to someone in your way and heal them? I mean, it's fascinating to kind of just say it out loud.
I think that most people come to our workshops for many different reasons. Some people have health conditions, other people have struggles in their life or financial issues. Some people want love or relationships, or some people have been traumatized in their past, and other people just want to be better versions of themselves. And so I think people come for a lot of different reasons, but there's an innate capacity that we have. And whether I'm sitting with a CEO of a major company, or a prison inmate, or a single mother with 4 children, I think that people secretly believe in themselves. And when you believe in yourself, you believe in possibility. So the latest sciences point the finger at possibility, that we're not doomed by our genes. We're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. In fact, we're marvels of adaptability and change. And so most people have a sincere desire, really sincere desire to really express a better aspect of themselves. The real question is that they just don't know how. And so 70% of the time, most people are living in survival. And living in survival is living in stress. And what most people don't know is that when they think about their problems, they turn on the stress response just by thought alone. And we're one of the few creatures that do that really well. And when you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease, because no organism in nature can live in emergency mode for an extended period of time. So it's a scientific fact that the hormones of stress downregulate genes that create disease. And so if you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone, and the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons that create disease, that means that your thoughts can literally make you sick. So the fundamental question is, if your thoughts can make you sick, is it possible then that your thoughts can make you well? Now, I have sat in research committees at the Mayo Clinic, and many integrated doctors don't want to address that question, but I'm here to tell you that is a fact. We took a group of 120 people in a research study, And we asked them, we said, okay, look, we know that cortisol levels, which is the stress hormones, suppress immune function. It creates inflammation. And chronic stress suppresses the immune system to such a degree that even the food that people eat become an antagonist to their immune system. So we said, okay, let's do something completely opposite. Let's take a group of people and for 10 minutes a day, for just a few times a day, let's teach them how to open their heart. Let's teach them how to feel gratitude, appreciation, kindness. Now, if you think about the emotional signature of gratitude, the emotional signature of gratitude means that you're receiving something. You give thanks when you get something, right? So your body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion that you create by thought alone. So when a person changes fear or guilt or shame or unworthiness or self-doubt to gratitude, their body is in the perfect state of receiving. So I thought, okay, let's take a group of people and for 10 minutes a day, a few times a day for 4 days, let's train them on how to express gratitude, and let's measure their heart, because you can measure what the heart does. When you feel gratitude, it gets very resonant, it gets very coherent, it gets very synchronized. And let's make sure that they're actually doing it. A few times a day for 4 days. Now, at the end of 4 days, they signaled the gene that began to suppress their cortisol levels by 20%. But we were measuring a chemical called IgA, immunoglobulin A. It's the primary defense against bacteria and viruses. It's better than any flu shot. It's the body's innate ability to handle viruses, bacteria, and fungus. IgA levels went up by 50% in 4 days. They upregulated the gene. By thought alone, by expressing an immune response, by feeling gratitude, they began to heal their immune system. Now, if pharmaceutical companies found a drug that stimulated IgA by 50%, it would be on every television commercial in the world. And yet, our nervous system is the greatest pharmacist in the world. So that caused me to start thinking about this idea of the placebo. I mean, how can you give someone a sugar pill, a saline injection, perform some false surgery or treatment, and a certain percentage of those people will accept, believe, and surrender to the thought that they're getting the real substance or treatment, and they begin to program their autonomic nervous system to make the exact pharmacy of chemicals that matches the very substance or treatment that they think they're getting. Now the question is, was it the inert substance called the placebo that was doing the healing, or was it the body's innate capacity to heal by thought alone? So once you understand the mechanics of how that happens, the question is, can you teach it? And the answer is absolutely yes. And when people begin to change their emotional states, when they break free from unconscious habits and behaviors, when they become conscious of hardwired attitudes, and they begin to turn that battleship around, their biology is going to begin to change. And so many people that have healed themselves in the work that we've done, if you ask them, where's the disease? Where is it? They will tell you, the disease is in the old personality. I'm literally somebody else. And when they become somebody else, it's like a person with a multiple personality disorder that has an allergy to nylon stockings in one personality and type 2 diabetes in another. That there's really a selection that happens genetically when people compartmentalize with multiple personality disorders. And yet when people begin to change their personality, it's not like they have to visualize anything changing. They really become someone else. And so we have witnessed so many conditions changing, from cancers to rheumatoid arthritis to inflammatory conditions to even rare genetic disorders that medical science has no solution for. Now, I want to be very clear about this process, because many of the people were not relying on any exogenous substance, anything outside of them, to make the changes inside of them. They realized that they had some trauma in their life that branded them emotionally. They realized that they were stuck in habituations. They realized that they haven't made choices that they needed to make in their life. And when people step out into the unknown, that place that appears to be really scary, but they're willing to risk everything for possibility. I think that something awakens in a person. And I think that many people treat a lot of health conditions matter to matter. You know, they do all the things that they need to do to change their diet, that they increase their exercise, they do all those things. And that's very important because that's making physical changes or chemical changes in their body. But 90% of the time, most of our stresses wind up as psychological and emotional stress. And if we don't address that emotional component, many of the cellular mechanisms begin to shut down, because when a person's living in fear, or they're living in hostility, or they're living in anger, or they're living in sadness or pain, the cell is getting that chemical instruction, and the cell closes down because it's not a time for growth and repair. It's not a time to flourish. And so when people begin to break out of those emotional states and they step into the unknown, and they're willing to give up their guilt for a possibility, really give it up, and be uncomfortable in the beginning, and then begin to regulate and change those states, I think the side effect of it, the really side effect, is that their body begins to get a biological upgrade. And so I've seen it thousands of times with people, and I know it's possible. So, and they've done it really by thought alone, which makes it so exciting.
Amazing. You mentioned upgrade. Obviously, we're at Bulletproof, which the unique kind of approach that you guys have to the mind, to the body is incredible. It's like nowhere else. So let's talk about that, where we are.
Yeah, I was actually really enjoying what you were saying, thinking about how we train very differently at Bulletproof Labs compared to training at any other sort of gym on earth, is that we actually train at the cellular level. And so we know that the body's made of cells from tips of the toes to the ends of the hair, and really what we do with the cell is we know that it's going to thrive, and it can live long, and it can live well if it has access to water and light and good nutrition and oxygen, and if it can exercise, and if it can remove waste. And everything that we do at Labs is really to take care of the cell from that perspective, and energizing these little cells that have experienced trauma and have a memory inside of them that maybe has a little bit of pain. So that's something that's really different about how we train the body at Labs. Beyond that, it's a space that it's about training the body from the inside out. And so when you come to Labs, one of the things that I think is really special about it is that we made the decision not to put mirrors in the space, because we know that the outside of the body is going to shift as a side effect of the work that we're doing on the inside of the body. And beyond cell health, when we can upgrade the body's systems, we've got technology in here that we leverage to help the brain and the nervous system and the soul settle to perform better. So it was lovely listening to that, because we make the little cells nice and strong and big plump grapes, and then we warm the heart with the team and the technology on top of it.
Just like that.
Yep.
Just like that. GloZell, is this new to you? This kind of stuff?
Bulletproof Labs?
Well, not the labs, but like, how do you go about your life? Is it the cell stuff? Is it the healing? Is it the... How do you kind of...
No, I know everything this doctor knows. I know everything.
You do?
And she's been to Labs. She had a whole night getting upgraded.
Yes. And let me
you
tell
seem like you're already upgraded. That's what I'm saying.
You know,
Is it a cell approach? What is it?
You know, let me tell you. I've come here a few times, and my sleep has been amazing. And I'm like, you wouldn't even believe making a change like that.
Right.
Would do so much in other areas of our life. Now, what was your question? You asked me if I understand what these people are saying?
What's your approach? I don't. I'm trying to, it's gonna have to digest. No, what's your approach to like your well-being, your kind of, your life, because you have this.
Well, you have this, go ahead.
Go on, energy, thing.
Yes.
Your posture in general, I'm just like sitting and just like.
Well, I got adjusted by someone, like Mr. Robert right there.
He's here, is
okay. So, ask the question again.
You're getting thrown off, aren't you?
Well, what do I understand? How do I?
What rules do you live by? What rules do you break?
What rules do I live by, and what rules do I break?
Yeah.
Now,
in your life of like keeping yourself on the right track.
All right. What do I do to keep myself on the right track?
There you go.
Okay. One thing is I believe that it takes a spark to get a fire going. Now you can have a nice little glow or you can burn down the whole forest. So you want to make sure you're around people who that can blow just a little bit and keep you, nice and warm and toasty and not get on your nerves and you're like,
Okay.
Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you're putting it in my terms now. This is perfect.
I'm just saying, I could say it how he said it with your electrons and neutrons and mitochondria.
You got me at sparks and glowing and flames. I'm right there with you.
I could say it like that.
Let's go for a chat.
I'm just saying. I just keep it a little, just between us.
Yeah.
That
We're on the same level.
Don't worry, be happy is basically the bottom line.
Exactly. That is it. In a nutshell, we're there.
In a nutshell, for real, you want to stay around people that's gonna keep you happy, and sometimes you're the one to help keep them up. But that's the number one thing I feel that I use, because when somebody walk in the room, you're like, ugh. Yeah, you don't want to be around that person. And then sometimes when someone comes in, you're like, oh, good, I'm glad they're here. I want to be that person.
Right.
So
well, those people have read Joe's book. The other people
exactly.
haven't.
And they've come here to Bulletproof. Yes.
Right.
And they're working out with Ed. Yeah,
In labs.
Right.
Yes, exactly right.
Exactly. It makes perfect sense.
I hope
It
so.
does. The spark and the flame
Yes.
and the blowing. Don't forget the blowing.
She said a gentle glow.
A gentle
Yes.
glow. A gentle glow. Ed, you're big into the physical stamina and that stuff.
Clearly.
Clearly, but also
Clearly.
you're like, you're very driven in that way. How do you keep going on that note without getting burnt out?
That's a good question. I'm not about.
Only one.
Yeah, no, they've all been good. No, they've all been good. No, brother, you're doing awesome. So I'm not physically. I'm not about. I think like your external body. I love what you said. Like muscles is a secondary thing. For me, being fit is about energy. So I think life's about energy, transfer of energy, right? I think when you plug into energy, you're more effective. There's this greatest energy we can plug into, and so being fit is another element of energy. So I want to be healthy and energetic and strong, and I've not been that way because I did grow up a little guy. I had a really interesting experience. Any of you watch the NFL? Anybody in here watch football? You know who John Gruden is? Anybody know who John Gruden? Okay, I was 100. I went away to college on a baseball scholarship. I was 150 pounds. My first practice was not baseball practice because it's in the spring. My first practice was weight training, which I had never done before. Guess who my weight and strength and conditioning coach was? My first weight I ever listed was Coach Gruden. And so if you know who he is, he's go Google him. He's crazy, right? And so my first strength coach was this crazy ended up being an NFL football coach. He's the head coach of the Raiders now. And he got me passionate about working out. And what I found is I love training. For me, Dr. Joe and I were talking about this during the podcast. I think your mind can trigger your body, but I think your body can trigger your mind. And so some of the best decisions I make, the anchoring of my states, the anchoring of my thoughts happen when I'm moving my body. You can meditate and get quiet, and that's awesome. And I meditate every single morning. I clear my mind, and I've worked on that for a decade now. But there's a power to me to moving my body and making decisions simultaneously. Joe could probably explain to you better for me why that wires you differently. And so for me, fitness has been, I'm addicted to it. And I'm not addicted to getting muscles. I've been bigger and smaller different times in my life, but I want to have energy. And in the business world, I feel like in the old days, it didn't matter. I think nowadays in the modern business world, because of what Dr. Joe said is true, information's a dime a dozen now. Information everybody can get. The separator in business now is not information, it's your ability to execute. And part of your ability to execute is your energy level, is your fitness level. Can you work another hour than somebody else? Can you be stronger? Can you communicate and can you execute at your peak state more regularly than your competition? And a lot of that has to do with what energy you can bring to the table and what energy you plug into. And so I want to bring energy and I want to plug into energy. And so my fitness or my working out, which by the way, goes through different stages. Sometimes it's better than others. I'm certainly not a perfect person in that regard. But for me, it started as one of those things I said earlier, where that's a promise I can keep to myself. I can get my lazy booty into the gym, and I've kept the promise. I did it. I knocked it off. It's another thing I said I was going to do, I did. And I do reinforce that. And so for me, I'll tell you a quick story real fast. What changed my life fitness-wise was meeting Coach Gruden, and then one more experience. I had an uncle die at 50 years old of a heart attack. At that time, I was not in good shape. You have a relative that you look like a little bit? Like, you remind me of Uncle whoever or Auntie so-and-so. Mine was my Uncle Mike who died. So there's this thing in your brain called the reticular activating system, right? So I'm flying back on the flight. I'm thinking about heart attacks, heart attacks, heart attacks. I'm listening to my headphones. On the screen was the Oprah Winfrey show. She was covering a new heart scan you could do. And because I was conscious about heart attacks, if I wasn't on my mind, I'd have never seen it. If I see it, I plug my headphones in, and it's this new scan you can do at Cedars-Sinai. I'm 30, I go do the scan. Long story short, doctor comes back in. You do the scan, then you go have lunch, right? And you come back. I literally go eat a burrito at lunch. I come back, and my walk, the doctor was awesome. Rather than just give a diagnosis, he wired me with reasons, not just gave me the prescription. That's what great business people do too. So he goes, he walks me in, he goes, hey, are you married? I said, yeah. He goes, you have a son? I said, yes. He goes, I heard your wife was pregnant. He goes, let me ask you a question just real quick. You want to walk your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day? Right? I'm like, what? What's it? He goes, do you want to walk your daughter down the aisle? I know your wife's 6 months pregnant. Do you want to be there on her wedding day? And I'm like, what the fuck is in this scan? Right? He like gets me all worked up, and he goes, I just want to be clear with you with what I'm about to tell you. If you keep down the path you're going, some other man's walking your little girl down the aisle on her wedding day. So you better listen to what I'm about to tell you, or you're going to die before she's 18. I went, whoa, right? And then he told me what I needed to do. And that, what it did is it wired into me this massive reason to be healthy. This is important. And so there are mornings now when I'm on the road and it's 4 o'clock and I got to speak at 6, and I'm like, I don't want to get up and work out. And I literally, I'm not kidding you. In my head, unconscious, I don't have to do it. It goes, Bella's wedding. Bella's wedding. Get your ass up. Bella's wedding. And so one of the reasons I'm relatively fit is because I have massive reasons to be, because I had really premature arteriosclerosis when I was really young. And so it's got me in the gym, it's got me fit, it's got me conscious of what I'm eating. So I've had more reasons to be fit. And this doctor was brilliant. Most go, here's your Crestor, get out of here. He didn't do that. He's like, he wired me with reasons, right? Which was my little girl. That's what's kind of compelled me to keep going on the days I didn't want to, was my reasons were bigger than whatever that adversity or obstacle was to go. So, yeah.
There you go. I need that voice in the morning. Nothing comes out in the morning. It's just like absolute silence. I'm waiting. I'm like, nothing. So obviously everyone's got their own different approach. I want to open this up to the audience to ask some questions, but before we do that, 3 things in a day that you could advise, like the top 3 things that you would say, do this every day.
Top 3 things, I would say definitely say something positive about your day before you get up, but before you even put your foot on the floor, before you get up. 2, it'd be nice to plan your meals, and 3, to avoid negative people, also be around positive people.
Love that.
I think number 1 is to make time for yourself. I think when you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. Number 2, give thanks for the things you have in your life, and give thanks for the things you're about to receive in your life. Number 3, make sure you take time out of your day to express love and to feel it. And I think if you do those things, you begin to attract unusual circumstances that cause you to want to do more of it.
Can I change to the Whitney?
No. He's already won the teddy bear.
But I haven't gone yet.
There's still Amanda.
Wait, maybe I'll get the teddy bear. Okay, 1, move every day. So be active with or location, but like physically move and sweat and breathe heavy and just enjoy your body and what it feels like when it is pushed beyond sitting in a chair. If you can move to music, that's even better. Number 2, I think you should. I think taking time throughout the day to actually look people in the eye and in that moment be really grateful for the person that's standing in front of you, and maybe trying to figure out the reason why you've crossed paths with them in that moment. And number 3, laugh really fucking loud. I do that.
Like that.
It makes life amazing.
Yeah, love that.
Shoot, I want to say something they didn't say. Well, I'll give you 3 things they didn't say, because I agree with those things too. So I have a whole thing on this. I just did a training on my podcast. I'm not, just so you know. So I'll give you 1. Hydrate yourself more than you think you should. you don't drink enough water. So be more hydrated than you think you need to be. So that's a mistake. Most people are in some sort of form of dehydration that they don't know they're in. It's affecting your energy and your performance, your cognitive thinking. And so hydrate yourself. That's number one. Number two, you said, Elizabeth, this earlier, but not on this question. I'm a huge fanatic about controlling the first 30 minutes of your morning and the last 30 minutes of your day. And so I have a very specific, very, very specific and detailed routine. I do the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes of my day, which include gratitude rituals, include getting clear on my goals, include controlling and taking control of the thoughts I want to have that day and eliminating the ones that I don't. These are all things that I do already, because I have this theory that if you can control the first 30 minutes of your day and the last 30 minutes of your day, you have a much higher percentage chance of getting control over the middle of it. You won't all the time, but you increase your chances. And so that would be the second thing. You said move your body. The third thing I would tell you to do every single day would be to give something to somebody else. That if you get into the process of your life of being in the contribution, and giving can be a compliment, giving can be a smile, giving can be opening a door for somebody, giving can be calling a friend you haven't talked to in 5 years and say, hey man, I miss you and I love you, how you doing, right? But it's every day being conscious of giving some type of a gift away to some other human being will nourish your soul, it'll strengthen your confidence, it'll get you out of a state of worrying what people think about you and into a state of delivering for them. And so those would be three things I'd throw at you in addition to what they shared with you. So.
Thanks, guys. Questions? Anyone? You're behind the camera, so don't be shy.
Amanda mentioned positive affirmations in the 5-minute journal, which I love. If you each had to choose one affirmation that comes up the most for you that you say to yourself, what would it be?
Oh, I thought she was like you.
No, everyone.
I'll give you mine. Mine always involves gratitude. So my first affirmation every day is that I'm in a total state of gratitude. I'm the most grateful person in the universe, because it allows me to then just, for some reason when you do that, Dr. Joe could tell you the reasons, but I just am constantly identifying and noticing things I'm grateful for that I'd be oblivious to otherwise, and gratitude is the great antidote in life to almost everything negative. And so I'm like a gratitude addict, man. And so that's the first affirmation for me every single day.
One that I do, I say, I am peace, because I am a social media person, influencer. And once you turn on, it's like, drop this, get that. People are upset about so many things. So, and there's trolls, there's just people that just want to, they're angry and upset with themselves. All they do is leave negative comments. It's like, don't you have something else to do? So mine is, I am peace. It doesn't matter what people say or what they're going through. I'm like, I'm good.
You know, I have a concern about affirmations, because for many people, affirmations don't work because they can, execute an I am statement, like I am whatever. But if, well, whatever it is. Well, whatever it is.
Go ahead.
Here we are, the conversation starts.
And because if you say I am something, right, but you're feeling something else, we only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts that are equal to our emotional state. And we never accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts that are not equal to our emotional state. So for me, it's more than just saying an I am statement. I think we have to work ourselves up. We have to work with our body and work with it in raising its energy. And for me, I never get up until I feel unlimited. And when I feel unlimited, then it's so easy to say, I am unlimited. And when I say I am unlimited, I'm commanding my mind and body towards a destiny. And when I get up feeling unlimited, then there's no challenge in my life that I see as an obstacle. I see it as an opportunity. And I think we're all faced with great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. And so getting into that state emotionally first, and then when I'm in that emotional state, saying the I am, I think it makes it to the body, and it begins to program our autonomic nervous system into our day. So.
Can I say something about that? We were just talking. I just want to say something on that, because I want to acknowledge that. There's actually stuff of me saying that I'm not a big affirmation person. And for the reason that you just said, because some people, I'm very visual. Some people are auditory. Some people are kinesthetic, where they have to feel it. And so for me, when I'm telling you that I'm grateful, I'm actually picturing it in the morning, because I'm such a visually, the part of my brain or the part of me that I relate to the easiest is my visual part. And so for some people, in my opinion, saying something out loud that they truly mean, auditory, stimulates them. For me, I'm not stimulated in an auditory basis very well. I'm stimulated visually. Some people have to feel it and move their body when they do it. I think probably the best is to be able to do all of them at once and feel that emotion. But I wanted to just acknowledge that too, because I don't want people to mistake some things that I've said. I think it's wonderful for people who really respond to hearing their spoken voice, and there's a power to that. For me, it's internal and visual, and I'm saying it more to myself because I do want to actually feel the emotion of it, and I connect emotionally best to visual. So I just wanted to add that from me.
And that gets you there.
Yes.
And for me too, I have to have a visual component that allows me to feel it. But the ultimate goal is to feel, because the thought then is in alignment with the feeling, and that changes your state of being.
I agree with
you.
Sorry.
Best for last.
Yes.
By the way, just to put more pressure on you,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap it up after this
Oh,
statement, so
okay.
you will have the last word.
You better crush
so
it.
I,
Don't
so
Phase on it, look.
I,
Not even phase.
I like wait to go
you
last.
like-
All right, so I actually agree with what's been said in that just simply saying words doesn't create change. And I know that because one of my affirmations for a long time is I am my goal weight, and that didn't happen. No matter, I even put it on my driver's license, that didn't help. So, but to your point, the process of the 5-minute journal, the not turning on the technology, the sitting quietly with my coffee, the going first through gratitude, then through what will make the day spectacular, it's actually priming for that moment when it's time to create the affirmation. The affirmations that I go to most often, I'm a magnet for miracles, and every step I take, the words that I say, the actions that I make are gonna move my life and the lives of those around me forward in a positive way for humanity and for the planet. So that's what I do in the morning.
GloZell, Joe, Amanda, Ed, thank you. That's it.